StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is, you go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are on part 2 of our 2-part mini-series. I'm telling you the biggest mistakes that I personally have made in business. Before I start, 2 reminders. First of all, daily motivation, Monday motivation message guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point. Start your day or your week respectively. All you got to do is be a member of my text community, free to join. Text me at my number 305-384-6894. Once we start sending the message out again, you'll be getting it straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is a place where you get access to me as your personal coach, working with you directly. You get access to our clearly laid out and fully documented frameworks around mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. You get access to all of our best trainings, over 3,000 courses and lessons inside of our university. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is where you get to work with me directly. If you want to do so, that's where it happens. With that out the way, let's pick it up where we left off. We're picking up on point number 4. Topic again is our mini series here of the biggest mistakes I have personally made in business. Number 4, not leveraging collaborations enough. Now, this is one that I did not take a long time to figure out once I understood how to do it. And I picked up on a collaboration mentality actually pretty early in my career. I don't know who first planted the seed in my mind, but even back when I was making basketball content on YouTube back in the day, over 10 years ago, I noticed how collaborations between people, like 2 different people who had YouTube channels and they both had audiences, notice how these collaborations would allow us to cross-pollinate our audiences, pick up new customers and clients relatively easily, and how it was a win-win-win all around. The fans got to see 2 people who they like engage, or they got to get introduced to a new person who they now like, and both creators got to cross-pollinate audiences. So some of this person's audience would come over here and some of that person's audience would go over there. So everybody won in that situation. So when I say it's a mistake to not leverage collaborations enough, and that's a mistake that I made, what I mean is that I should have and still should do more collaborating than I'm even doing right now. So I do a ton of collaborations right now. Today, as a matter of fact, I did 2. Who was I talking to today? Today I was talking to Tyler, who has a what do they call it? An agency for running ads. And then we had to reschedule, but I'm going to be talking to Joel, who I believe he has a law firm that he runs. And the thing is, I'm doing all types of these collaborations all the time. I'm always looking for new ways to collaborate with people who are out there in the game. Yesterday I was talking to Brandon, and I don't even remember exactly what business he runs. I was recording for his podcast, but I want to look into the things that he's doing because he was telling me that some of the stuff that I was saying was helping him mentally. And even Tyler actually gave me a similar compliment today when I was recording with him. The point is, I'm looking to collaborate with people all the time. Why? Because when you collaborate, you get access to audiences of people who are your ideal people or close to it. And someone else has already done the work of finding them, gathering them, and building up the know, like, and trust factors with those people. So when they introduce me as, hey, here's a guest that I want to introduce you to, and let him tell you some things, or let him come speak, or let him come share whatever it is that he's doing, whether I'm appearing at somebody's event, whether I'm speaking during one of their mastermind events, whether I'm a guest on their podcast, whether I write an article for their audience. Now I'm being introduced as a friend. So some of the trust factor that the audience already has with the host, some of that rubs off on me. So these people are coming to me more warmed up, so to speak, rather than coming to me cold, because even though both ways they had never heard of me before, but they heard of me either on their own, to which they're trying to figure me out, or heard of me through a friend, a trusted person, which is the audience of the person that they're already following, then that makes my job easier. So here's what I would say to you. I've told you that there are 3 ways to market yourself online. You have content, you have advertising, and you have collaboration. I would say that collaboration is the best way. It's the sweet spot. Now, collaboration is not always as measurable and as quick to convert as advertising. However, advertising can scale up in cost very quickly. And with advertising, you don't always know if your thing is going to necessarily work, though you can find people who are really good at running ads and they can help you make it work because they know how to do all the stuff. That's not my area of expertise. As a matter of fact, Tyler, who I just mentioned, he has a ad agency. So he runs ads. He says, if you have an ad that converts, we can make it work. We can make it make money. And that's what he says in his business. And he may be someone that I work with in the future, because I talk to a lot of ad people. I've worked with a few and I've talked to a lot of ad people, and all of them kind of say, hey, we can make your ad stuff work as long as we got the right offer, we get the right conversion, we got the right ABC, we can make it work and make you make money. You spend $1, you make back 3. And so he's a guy that's on my radar for the fact that he can do that. And now I'm just thinking off the top of my head. There's a woman who has an agency who offers the same thing. And there's a guy over in London who is offering that. And there's a guy over, and he's actually in Australia, and they're offering it. So a couple of them I'm working with already, and a couple of them I have on my radar, but I'm always looking for ways to scale up and do more and better of things that people are already doing at a really, really high level, and also things that I know I don't want to touch. I don't want to touch the ad platform on any app, but I will collaborate with people who do. So anyway, I'm just bringing those up as collaborations, and I'm always looking to do more collaboration with someone or something that makes sense for me. So collaboration, not just because there are warm bodies in the room, but because it makes sense for you and it makes sense for them. And it's an ongoing thing, because business is a lot easier to do when you're doing it through a collaboration, and when you do everything through, like I said, even advertising or doing everything off your own energy, such as through content. Even though I do ads, even though I do make content, as you can see. And I talked about this a couple episodes back when I told you that I did joint ventures and I've been an affiliate marketer. Joint venturing and affiliate marketing are forms of collaboration. Okay, so they're not different. They're the same thing. They are under the umbrella of collaboration. Collaboration just means you and another entity working together for mutual benefit. That's a collaboration. So I'd rather pick up a new client or customer through a collaboration than through running an ad, simply because the person who comes through a collaboration is already warmed up to me, whereas the person who came through an ad may not be. But there are ways to minimize that issue. There are ways to minimize that issue, let me be clear. But I'm just saying, on a high level, surface level, I'd rather pick them up through a collaboration than through an ad. Because also with collaboration, I may not have to spend any money. With the ad, I got to pay somebody. So the difference with the collaboration is that the person's coming in warm, as I said, with the know, like, and trust factor already built in. Or with an ad, that person may be cold and you got to warm them up. The other difference in favor of the ad is that you have more control over the flow of people. So I do have to be clear about that. And also, when you run ads, you're collaborating too. You're collaborating with whoever has access to the people. So if you run a Facebook ad, you are collaborating with Facebook. They have the people, you have the money, and you got the ad itself. And if you give them enough money, they'll show your stuff to some people. So that's a collaboration too. But all things being equal, if you just get the spirit of my point, I'd rather have 100 new customers come into my world today through collaboration than through advertisement, as I just explained to you, because the relationship piece is already warmed up. And that's the most important aspect, especially in the line of work that I'm in, is the relationship. It's not the material or the stuff, it's the relationship. And moving on, point number 5. We are talking today again about the biggest mistakes I have made in business. Number 5 is taking too long to go high ticket. So when I say high ticket, let's just say that's $5,000 or more. All right, but anything that costs $5,000 or more is considered, let's just call that high ticket for the sake of discussion. This is one that I started to pick up on more as I got into the speaking and consulting and coaching spaces, because that's where a lot of high ticket things get sold. Not you can't sell other things at high ticket, but these are things that are almost always sold high ticket. And I realized, first of all, the simple math of high ticket offerings, it allows the entrepreneur to make more money in a shorter period of time. I said, that sounds like a good idea. Instead of making $10,000 over the course of 6 months, how about I can make $10,000 over the course of like 60 minutes, maybe in an hour? I can make $10,000. Why not do it that way instead? So shortening the time frame of getting to the same outcome, which is what all of us want to be aiming for anyways. Not that we just want more of something. You just want to get the same amount just faster. All right, instead of making $1 million over 40 years, how about you make $1 million in 1 year? Isn't that better? Same amount of money, you just did it a whole lot faster. Doesn't it feel a lot different? Of course it does. So a lot of more money in a shorter period of time. I also understood the value of working with one high ticket person versus working with 10 or 100 low ticket people. Even for the same amount of money, it was easier to work with the one. So one person who will pay you $10,000 is more valuable than 100 people who will pay you $100. So it's less work. You only got to serve one person. Usually the more a person is invested financially, much higher level of compliance, meaning they will listen to and follow what you say to them much more often than a person who has spent a lot less money. And you get a higher level of appreciation from a person who is more financially invested. You might think that it would be the opposite in all those situations, but this is how it is. The more someone is invested, the more they appreciate what they have invested in. Some of it is the confirmation bias, which is I decided to do this, so I better make sure that it works. And I better make sure that I'm not an idiot who bought the wrong thing. So I'm going to make sure I get the result out of this and I'm going to appreciate it. That's part of it, and that's human nature. But also, when someone's financially invested, they are mentally, emotionally, and intentionally invested. I don't know if intentionally is even a word, but I just made it up. When you put your money on the table, you're paying attention. And the less money you put on the table, the less attention you need to pay, because the less it hurts you that that money went to waste. If I buy something for $1, I may or may not even use it because it's just a dollar. I don't care. But if I put $10,000 on something, you have my full attention. You understand? And that's why I like the concept of high ticket. And once I understood it, I said I should have did this a long time ago. Third thing is, it takes the same amount of work to make a $1 sale as it takes to make a $10, $100, $1,000, or $10,000 sale. It doesn't seem like it, but it's true. The effort is the same, although many people tend to think that a lower price means it's easier to sell something. Now, in a general sense, is it easier to sell a Snickers bar for $1 than it is to sell a coaching program for $10,000? Yes. All right, if you're going by the letter of my point. But the spirit of the point is the amount of time it takes you, amount of effort it takes you to sell something. You have to acquire the thing, have the thing, figure out who to sell it to, present it, and ask for the money. That's the same thing you got to do whether you're asking for 10,000, a million, or $1. You have to have whatever it is. You have to package it up however you want to package it up. You have to go to where some people are. You have to present it, and you have to ask for the money. No matter how much money you're asking for, this process must be followed every time. So do you want to do that for $1? You want to do it for 10,000 or a million or 100,000? Effort's the same. Is also a continually, this high ticket thing, also a continually continually ongoing issue, because what I consider to be high ticket today will not be considered high ticket this time next year. All right, it's high ticket now, but a year from now, you know what? This ain't high ticket anymore. Let me raise the price, because I'm going to be offering higher levels of value. I'm going to be working with higher level individuals who are looking for higher level stuff, and therefore, what was high ticket will no longer be high ticket. So it's always evolving. Okay, and 5 years from now, it's going to change again. So this number can always increase. And along with it, you can always find higher quality people who are looking for what you're offering at the price point at which you're offering it. Understand that there is a buyer for every price point. This is the reason why you have smart cars that cost $10,000 and you have luxury sports cars that cost $300,000. There's a buyer for both. It's just a matter of which one do you want to sell. The biggest challenge that many entrepreneurs have is that you try to sell things at a price point at which you would buy things, but you have to remember that the person you're selling to is not you. So you shouldn't sell based on what you would do. You should sell based on what your ideal customer or client wants, not even what they would do, but what they want, because you can't make a decision for them. So this applies to you as a business person the same way it applies to me. Keep in mind that there is a buyer for every price point. So do not sell yourself short by selling something based on what you think people would buy or should buy or what is reasonable for them, because that's not your decision to make. Point number 6, we're talking here today about the biggest mistakes I've made in business. Number 6, working more because I'm supposed to be working, rather than working less and focusing on high ROI activity. This one, I will also admit, is an ongoing issue, because it is ingrained in me as well as it is ingrained in most of you to be working. Western society, it puts work at the top of the hierarchy in terms of what are we supposed to spend our lives doing. If you're not working, then something's wrong with you. You're some kind of bum. You're wasting time. You're wasting your life. You're sitting around doing nothing. What's wrong with you? Something's wrong with you if you're not working, right? And this is something that's been ingrained in all of us. And I admit that I have been guilty of this mentality. I mean, my brand is called Work on Your Game. After all, I don't have a problem with work. And I'm not telling you that you should not be working. I'm working right now and recording this. This is an ongoing issue that, again, is normal in Western society. So if you are from the Western world, this has affected you just as well. And many people don't even realize that it's in them. So even when you do realize it, it's very hard to break the habit. I'm here talking about it, and I will tell you, even being conscious of it is hard to break this habit, because we have been taught, at least most of us have, that we should always be working. If you're not sleeping, you should be working. Any minute you spend not working, you are wasting, and your competition is catching up to you or surpassing you or building a gap to widen its distance away from you. And we tend to think that we should be working more, even when that time spent working is really doing nothing productive or moving us forward. So we will spend time working just so we can feel like we're doing something, even though what we're doing is literally nothing useful, just so we can say we were working. All right, how many of you have found yourself doing it? Of course you have. Some of you right now are doing some work that's some bullshit that you shouldn't be doing, that's doing absolutely nothing. It will accomplish nothing. It will move you forward, not at all. It doesn't move the needle, but you're doing it anyway just so you can feel like you're doing something. How many of you are guilty of that? Now, if you're sitting somewhere working by yourself right now, and you can even laugh at this because you know I'm talking about you, and I know I have the conversations. Let's remember, 80-20 principle says that 80% of our results come from 20% of our inputs. So what does that mean? If you spend more time on the 20% inputs, you could produce a lot more results with a lot less effort and in a lot less time. So you wouldn't need all that time. If you only need to spend 20% of your time doing things that produce most of the results, then you got 80% of your time given back to you. Do whatever you want. Maybe you don't need to work in that time. And here's what people do. Even if you use the 80-20 principle and you figured out the 20%, you did more than 20% stuff, you got all this time on your hands, you say, oh, well, I might as well do some work because I got this time on my hands. And what do? You end up finding busy work to do, the 80% inputs that produce only 20% of the outputs. Why? Because you just got to feel like you're doing something. See, it's mental. It's not tangible. It's mental. And we got to get over this hump. And the best way to get over this hump, folks, is to structure out your day so you have assigned tasks and assigned times to not be doing stuff so that you don't feel guilty about not doing it. Because, hey, look, it's right here on the schedule. I'm not supposed to be doing anything right now. I'm supposed to be spending time with my kids right now. I'm supposed to be watching a movie with my daughter. I'm supposed to be at the movies or at the mall with my spouse. I'm supposed to be cleaning out the garage because work time is done at this point. See, if you schedule out your day, then you'll feel less guilty about not doing stuff at times where you're used to doing stuff because it's on the schedule. But if you don't schedule it, then guess what you're going to fill it with? Whatever you go to mentally by default. And most of you already have a mental default of work. And this is why you spend so much time working, even when you're doing a bunch of needle moving, devoid work. In other words, a whole bunch of work that doesn't really make a difference for you, but you're doing anyway because it feels like you're doing something, just because you're giving effort. Giving effort does not mean you're being effective, let alone productive. And the only thing you're producing when you're giving effort is you're producing burnt calories, but you're not actually doing anything that matters. So this also means, by deductive reasoning, that most of the things you spend time doing are low ROI activities that are not doing anything, but they are costing you significantly. By the 80-20 principle, you understand that most of the things you spend time doing are low ROI activities that are not doing much for you, but they are costing you significantly. So you spend a whole lot of time doing a bunch of shit that's doing nothing for you, in simple terms. Because when we were in school, maybe you even had a job where this happened. You would be given work to do just to have something to do, just so you didn't have idle hands. Because there's a saying that says idle hands are the devil's workshop. You heard that before? Maybe some of you had parents or grandparents who used to say that to you. So what do they do? What do we do to address this issue? We get busy work. Busy work. We would have this in school. The teacher would have us do some assignment that was doing nothing for us, not helping us learn anything. It was just busy work. We would even call it busy work. The teachers gave us some busy work because they didn't want us sitting around doing nothing. So just gave us stuff to do. It's like when you were in school in third grade and a substitute teacher came in, there was busy work that you were left to do. The teacher wasn't teaching you anything. You didn't learn anything that day with the substitute, but they gave you some work that you had to do just so the kids weren't sitting there idle with nothing to do. Because if you let that happen, then you may have chaos in the classroom. So they just come up with something for you to do. Some of you work at jobs where you're given busy work. You're given stuff that you have to do because the boss said it, but you know this doesn't do anything. You just got to do it because they told you. And this is kind of soul crushing work. Some of you are working at jobs right now where you're given soul crushing work that doesn't really mean anything, but you have to do it because the boss said you had to do it, and there's a penalty if you don't do it. I remember I was working with some people. I won't even say what company this was. I will tell you that they were a corporation. And a couple other folks, I was brought in as a freelancer, and it was very clear that I was a freelancer, but they worked for the actual company. And I remember them talking to each other one day, and the guy said, when you come in, it was like a Monday we were talking, and the guy said, when you go to work on Tuesday, don't be all urgent in getting all your work done on Tuesday, because then how are you going to pretend that you're doing any work on Wednesday? And that's the kind of mindset that you get into when you're given busy work. I'm not doing anything productive at this job anyway, so I'm going to stretch out the work on Tuesday and then leave something for myself so I can still look like I'm working on Wednesday when I'm in the office. Just the thought of that almost makes me nauseous. I don't ever want to be in a situation where that's happening. And the reality is, entrepreneurs, many of you are setting yourselves up to do this and don't even realize it. So we're doing work, again, just so you can feel busy, productive, and useful. And it should be called what it actually is, which is wasteful work. It's not busy work, it's waste work. You're just wasting time and effort so you can feel like you're doing something, serving your ego and giving yourself a dopamine hit of, hey, look at this work that I'm doing. Think what an athlete or an entertainer does. They have days where they only perform and don't do anything else. There are days when they only practice and train to get ready for the next performance. And they have days when they do nothing else, nothing at all, because they're letting their body or their voice or whatever recover from all the training and the performing that they've been doing. Isn't that what they do? And can we all agree the entertainers and athletes are noted for being really, really good at what they do performance-wise? Isn't that true? Okay, so how about you use the same schedule that they use? What a novel idea. Everybody got that concept? Athletes and entertainers have days where they only perform. We have days when we only train, and we have days when we rest and relax and recover. And we are known for being excellent performers. And what kind of business are we in, ladies and gentlemen? Performance-based business. All right, this is why the tools that Work on Your Game are about are taken from the sports world and applied to the business world. So why not do the exact same thing? And it's a funny thing to me because here I am, a former professional athlete who never had this concept. I never even had this occur to me until years into my entrepreneurial career. Like, damn, why not take the same process that athletes use and apply it to my life? Apply it to my business, rather. And here I was an athlete. That's exactly what we did. We had days when we practiced. We had days when we had games. There was no practice that day. And we had days when we recovered. No practice or game. And the whole business of being an athlete is you got to perform really, really well on the game days. Isn't that what the whole thing is? Think about Taylor Swift or Beyonce. They have days when they do a show. They have days when they're practicing and rehearsing and choreographing the show. And they have days when they just relax so that their bodies and voices can recover so they can go and perform at the next show. Isn't that what they do? And aren't Taylor Swift and Beyonce and NBA players and NFL players the best in the world at the thing that they do? Yes, they are. So again, ask yourself, how can you have this kind of schedule? It makes a whole lot of sense when you lay it out that way, right? So why not apply these same principles to yourself and your business? Because, well, one reason is, first of all, you got to figure out what are the practices, what are the games, and what's the recovery. You got to figure that out so you can have a plan here. You're not just randomly doing stuff. That out the way. And again, we're going to be talking about this again in future episodes. So let's recap today's class, which is part 2 of our 2-part mini-series, Biggest Mistakes I Made in Business. Number 4, not leveraging collaborations enough. This is one that didn't take me long to figure out, but it's an ongoing thing because I always want to be doing more collaborations with the right people where I'm the right person for them, they're the right person for me. Collaboration is simply working with other entities where everybody wins a mutual benefit. Number 5, taking too long to go high ticket. High ticket meaning $5,000 or more. People who pay at this level are, first of all, more compliant. They are more appreciative. They listen more. They are easier to work with than people who spend less money. It seems it would be the opposite, but it actually is the reality. And go ahead and try it and you'll find out. And number 6, working more because I'm supposed to be working. Again, this is just a mindset ingrained in all of us from childhood because of Western society that basically frowns on anyone who is not working. And the more hard you work, then the more, just the more valor and discipline and being a good person you're showing just because you're working. And again, I'm not knocking the concept of work. When you are working, you should be working. But again, look at the best performers out there. People who are noted for being the best performers, they have periods where they just perform, periods where they just train, and periods where they do nothing so that they can recover. They segment these periods. They don't try to do all 3 in the same day. And it's the same thing that you should start doing when it comes to your business. And again, everything I'm talking to you about here, I have figured these things out. I help people with these things, and I will help you strategize and systematize how to apply them in your life and in your business as a member of Work on Your Game University. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Links down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre, all